Hi, GunFunZS here. So here we may have the fight of the century. In the one corner we've got the elaborate and complex, somewhat expensive Lee LoadMaster. In the other corner we have the new hotness, the Auto Breech Lock Pro, which is cheap and simple. Or do we? So, Eagle Eye from Eagle Eye Shooting Channel, check the description for the link to his excellent videos on these, wanted us to all know what is the advantages and disadvantages of this, and also its baby brother, the new value turret, which is based on the same frame. And he sent one of these to me to test, and one of the turrets to Treetop Flyer. So I'm doing a series testing these and giving my conclusions. I would really like to have a lot more miles on these before I give you final conclusions, but I also feel like Eagle Eye put this money to get the information out to the public early, and I've taken way too long to get this out there. So this first video is going to be an economic comparison of the two. If you're looking at Lee products, you probably care about money. Well, these both have costs. Let's look at them. So, I realize that you're thinking, man, I have never seen such amazing cinematography and framing as this before in my life. Yeah, if you're coming for beautiful visuals, you've probably come to the wrong channel. If you come for well-reasoned analysis, well, maybe. We'll do our best. So let's look at what we're considering. Now, some people may say this isn't a fair comparison. I tried to give the most fair comparison as I think I would look at these, and as I think somebody who is in the market for either of these might look at it. So the way I did it is I priced out all the components to reload 1 caliber, 2 calibers, and then 3 calibers on both systems, and then I looked at some competing systems. And I broke it out in a lot more detail for the Lee presses than the other ones, and it took me a lot longer than I expected to tally up the totals. I was going to give you a comparison price between Midway and Titan Reloading, which is a Lee specific distributor, but I ended up just showing the prices for Midway. And in general, my attitude is all the tooling is going to come from Lee unless there's a good reason not to, and in some cases there may be a good reason for that. We will deal with that later, and that's mostly going to be stuff like bullet feeders, which I don't have, so I'm not going to speak too much in depth about. If you compare, if you look at a single caliber starting with 223 for the Auto Breech Lock Pro, you get the press itself for $109. Oh man, that's crazy cheap. But you're going to need a powder measure, which is either going to cost you $38.99 or for the auto drum, which is my recommendation, or the or for this powder measure right here, which you see on the LoadMaster, which is the Auto Disc Pro. I really do like the Auto Disc Pro, but it does have some limitations. One thing that's nice about it is it's very smooth and doesn't in itself put pressure, whereas the Auto Drum has quite a heavy spring on there, so if you're using a flaring die, you may find it a little bit difficult to have some nuance. Both of them can leak, both of them are very consistent powder measures, and both of them maybe leak less than some of your alternatives, although you will find people who disagree with each one of those statements. For my money, even if I had all the money, I would still be looking at these two powder measures. I think they're better designs than a lot of the more expensive alternatives, but that's my opinion. Anyway, you would also need a auto disc riser for the powder measure. As I have it set up there, I have a different system that I've come up with in order to make it work for 300 blackout, cast lead, and flare at the same time, but that's another video coming soon. Next, you need a priming system. I don't have that on there, but you really want that on there. I'm looking forward to mine arriving. It costs $23.99. Then you're going to need dies. I priced the actual dies on Midway, and all of the lead die sets of the 4 die set variety were either $46.99 or $46.49 or something like that. But anyway, I actually did the work to price out the individual calibers just so I wasn't making stuff up. It comes with one set of turret bushings, which comes with one of their lock ring eliminator bushings, which is decent, and 3 of their standard ones, which are not decent. You will want to not have those. The shell plate costs $18.49. They currently got a fairly limited selection of those available, but enough to do most of what most people want to do. I'm sure they will have more of those later. Next, you have the universal case feeder, also separate, $25, and the little funnel thing that you see at the top there. That is $12.99, and you absolutely want it. There's a slick little mod that you can do to make it work nicer with smaller calibers. The funnel isn't great for tall cases like 223, but 300 blackout and 357 and 45 ACP and all the other smaller pistol calibers work beautifully. It's clearly oriented around 45 ACP, which I believe was their original design intent. And the total you come to is $289.94 for one caliber. Now, the Lee LoadMaster used to be about $450, everything included in that list for one caliber, but they've dropped it way down. And if you notice over here, $264.99, which includes the auto disc, or in the case of the 223 model, which is what I'm comparing, because they list out each caliber included stuff as a model. It comes with the auto drum measure, as we currently see on the Auto Breech Lock Pro above. Either one is excellent, and I really like actually having both, but as I said before, if I was angling, I'd try to have auto drum as the only one I had if I only had one, because it's got a little bit broader range of versatility. Now, it will come with one priming system, which is either large or small caliber. Since we chose 223 as our example, it comes with the small. So that's small rifle, small pistol. It'll come with a die set, but it will not be their full 4 die set, so you'll end up wishing you had an FCD. I didn't price that out as included, but if you did, I think they're something like $14 standalone, and I'd be really tempted just to get a whole die set, because there's a lot of reasons why it's nice to have a spare die, such as a lining over the priming station. Anyway, next, turret and bushings. It comes with one turret. There's no bushings for this system, and you don't need them. And it comes with the shell plate, in this case for 223. It comes with the case feeder. Now, currently, a lot of their inventory has case feeders that are specific to either large pistol, or small rifle. And at one point I would have made a video on how you shouldn't get all 3 of those, and you can get the replacement parts, and with 2 of them you can cover all the bases, 2 of them and a spare pusher. But now they've got the universal case feeder, which, as near as I can tell from looking around online, if you order a new one, it may come with the universal, or maybe having one of the large pistol, large rifle. The universal one is worth getting. It's an improvement, but you get what you get. Next, we have the funnel, also not included. Still going to want to get it. Your total is $277.98. What? The more expensive flagship model is actually cheaper by the time you have it set up how you're actually going to use it than their new cheap amazing thing? Surprise. Yeah, this thing reminds me of getting the cheap electric razor that has more expensive refills than the expensive one and feels cheaper. Okay, next thing. Let's add one additional caliber. So, if you take the Auto Breech Lock Pro, a lot of these things we already got with our initial purchase, but we need another set of dies. Now we also need another set of the bushings. And here is how I factored that. The standard bushings are $8 for 2, and you'd need 3 plus a locking for each time you use it. And the locking bushings are $13 for 2. I'm just going to say, if this was my press that was my primary press, or, well, as it is right now since he gave it to me, I am not going to buy a single standard bushing. They suck. I'm going to buy locking bushings, which means, in practice, every caliber you add, you're going to want 4 new bushings that are the locking, which means, for every additional caliber, $25. And you're going to need another shell plate, $18.99. And so to add an additional caliber, you add $90.98. Your total is now $38.92. Comparing that to the LoadMaster, you've got a large pistol or large rifle priming system. In this case, we added large rifle to add 45 ACP. You'll need the dies, same price. You'll need a turret, which is $13.99, but in practice I've often seen them for $10 or $11 each if you're buying like 3 or 4 of them, which is what you just want to do. Is really nice to have a few spares, including an empty one. And you're going to want a shell plate. Those are $23.99. They used to be cheaper, whatever. Total $104.99, so this adding this caliber was slightly more money, and $382.94. The difference between the two presses is now $2.02 in favor of the Auto Breech Lock Pro. So it's not cheaper, really, it's different. Now, one more caliber. Dies again. Let's move this up into front and center. We're adding 9mm for this example. Shell plate, $25 turret, or I mean $25 bushings, $13.99 turret. Now we find that the LoadMaster is ahead again. The total is $471.40 for 3 calibers and $466.41 for 3 calibers for the Auto Breech Lock Pro and LoadMaster respectively. I think that's pretty interesting. So really these presses cost the same amount to operate, give or take. And as you start to add more calibers, they will be a little bit cheaper because you'll find you will have shared shell plates, but you'll end up needing the dies and the turret or bushings and so on. Some of the really big rifle calibers won't work practically with the case feeder. The Auto Breech Lock Pro's case pusher system is pretty slick for that. I've also used the pusher part of the LoadMaster case feeder without the actual case feeder tubes. Okay, now let's compare this to other brands of presses. If we look at, oh shoot, I've got this wrong. Sorry. I would normally do nice editing, but let's chuck that out of the way so we don't mess it up. Okay, here. So here we've got, comparing the two presses that we've got before, same numbers that we've got before at the end, $471.40 for 3 calibers, $466.41 for 3 calibers. Dillon XL650. Your bare press costs $589.95, which is a heck of a lot cheaper than it used to be. My recollection is it was more like $800 or $900, but somebody else will probably comment that I'm full of crap, so anyway. It comes with 2 powder dies, and it comes with a large and small primer tube feeder system, and it comes with the parts for that. Additional tubes are $7.99 each. I think it came with 3 tubes, but I forgot to put that in the list. It comes with 1 die set. Dillon dies are nice, but they are expensive. And if we add 2 Lee die sets to come up with the 3 calibers, that ends up being $92 additional dollars. The turret and bushings have come way down from what they used to be. They're now $31.95 each, and I think they used to be about $60 and $120. And you'd need 2 additional of those. And the caliber conversion kits, which you'd need an additional 2 of, are $80. They come for your case feeder, which is a power case feeder, which is a major step up. It comes, it's a separate piece that you have to buy, $240. It includes 1 caliber plate. You'd need 2 additional caliber plates at $51 each, and your total would come to $1,141.93. And they also sell this as a kit that has all of this stuff for 1 caliber for $1,200, and it looks like it's actually a better deal to buy this stuff individually when I was pricing my way through it. That's ordering directly from Dillon. Dillon currently isn't making it worthwhile for people to be Dillon distributors. Next we'll compare probably the next most popular one, the Hornady Lock and Load AP, which is the upgraded version of their old Lock and Load ammo plant system, and that now has the breech lock bushings that the Lee Auto Breech Lock Pro clearly copied. Base press $449.99, $1,100 for a complete, $1,200 for the full kit. There's some asterisks on that. I might be inclined with Hornady to get their full complete kit because it comes with some other things that are really nice. One of the things that the Dillon comes with is things like a powder checker and a primer alarm. Some of those things are included in the Hornady, like they have a different powder checker that sort of jams the press but no primer alarm. And they have different consumable parts. So it's hard to do a complete apples to apples. I would say the Hornady is finickier than the Dillon and is very close in cost. I would probably go with the Dillon between them, but some people will disagree, and they can. We've got $45 of bushings. It comes with 5. They're very similar to the breech lock bushings on the and we'd want at least 12 of them. It's 45 per 10, I should say. So really, if you buy one 10-pack with the ones that are included, you've got a couple spare. Sounds pretty good to me. I still don't like that as much as a turret. Shell plate, $34 each. You'd obviously need 2 additional. And the case feeder is $345. And the feed plates are $31.99. So the Hornady case feeder is actually a little more money than the Dillon. Their shell feeder die for their bullet feeder is a well-designed die. Dillon doesn't make their own. They sell you Mr. Bullet Feeder's kit, which is possibly a little bit better. It's arguable. And your total comes to $1,155.93, and a little bit more if you actually buy the kit. So, again, there. And then I'm going to put in one that a lot of people don't consider, but I actually think is one of the slickest options out there. It's priced to compete with the Dillon XL650, but its features are pretty close to the Dillon 1050. And that is the RCBS Pro Chucker 7. Which is, like, as I put over here, kind of a cheaper, product improved Dillon 1050-ish, kind of. Couple steps forward, a couple steps back. I would love to have one of those. $849.99 for the base press. It seems like RCBS is making very little effort to market or package this. Comes with one included additional powder measure. They're an expensive powder measure. It comes with 4 feed tubes, and it has the large and small primer kit included, so you're not going to need to buy an additional one of those unless you break something. And it doesn't come with any dies, assuming you use all Lee dies, $139.47. midway, oh sorry, this would be the turret and bushing plate. The turret plate is $45.99 each, and the shell plate is $56.99 each, which is actually the highest. It's a 7-station press though. Dang, that's nice. They don't sell this, their case feeder at Midway, but their case feeder is pretty nice, and their bullet feeder is probably the best designed of the actual bullet feeders in my opinion. I don't know about their die, but the actual feeder itself. That looks really nice. And they don't have a case collator. But they do basically make it so you have to buy this $150 case pusher component that has a tube arrangement very similar to the Lee presses. But it's pretty obvious the way they designed it with just a single tube that they know you're just going to buy a Hornady or Dillon case feeder and shove it on there. And I forgot to put the total on there, but it comes out to just a little more than the XL650. I think they designed this press and then gave up on it and assumed only brand loyalists would buy it, whether or not they market it. Which is a shame, because I think it's actually a really well designed press and maybe best in field. So, known consumables. The Auto Breech Lock Pro, so far, we know it needs a softer spring for the detent, otherwise you get powder whip issues. The ratchet clutch internals, per some of the online comments, say around 1,500 rounds. I put a $, ignore that. I'm certain I'm going to break the primer catcher. I've already knocked it off a couple of times, so you're going to end up wanting to buy that little plastic widget. Another concern would be the documentation doesn't even name any of the rifle calibers. They've got enough clearance that you can put something like 300 Win Mag in there and it can rotate, but they're not having any shell plates for rifle calibers, and they don't mention it in the manual, which makes me wonder, what do they know that I don't? LoadMaster. I know it needs an indexing rod, which I will grab right here. Probably you're going to break a couple of the case feeder chains if you're using that. These things wear out, and the wear is very subtle, but if you are having issues, odds are it's that. It's not a big deal, because that's, I don't know, once every 25,000 rounds-ish, and the primer assembly I cracked on, or sorry, the primer feeder assembly will eventually get wear on the plastic part around every 50,000 rounds. They're $25 each, and I believe you can actually buy the sub-assembly separately cheaper. I think it's really worthwhile having these universal decapper pins, which I ordered and they actually sent me the pistol size. Yay. $3 each. There's some higher durability ones online by a third-party supplier that I've been tempted to buy too. A bullet feeder would radically improve both of these presses. So, in conclusion, you've just sat through 23 minutes of me talking about these presses. You're pretty serious about this. I'm going to say, if you're buying one of these presses over the other for money, you're not thinking about this straight. They are almost identical presses, and both of them are somewhere between a half and a third the cost of doing things with either Dillon or Hornady or RCBS. And that's not insignificant, because in some ways I actually like my LoadMaster as well or better than some of those alternatives. They've definitely got things that I would prefer them for. For reloading pistol calibers, this is sure a sweet press, and it does a decent job at rifle calibers. Now, it is not perfect for rifle calibers, and I sure wish I had another station or two, which, the way that they've arranged the priming and so on a Dillon or a Hornady, it's as though you have one more station than you do in this. So that's a non-trivial improvement. But, again, I could have this and a Dillon for cheaper than a Dillon and a couple caliber conversions and just leave this one set up in the pistol caliber. And I would probably prefer that to changing out the calibers on the Dillon machine. And somebody might think that for the Auto Breech Lock Pro. The Auto Breech Lock Pro has a very different mentality behind the design of it, but it's got a lot of little things. I should probably wrap this up, but I think one of the things that you should remember is Reloaders Network really helps us out here, and we've got a lot of great people. And pay attention for my more in-depth comparison between these two presses. I'm going to tell you out of the bag, if I was only getting one, I probably would go with the LoadMaster. You may choose differently, but I would want you to do that from a knowledgeable position and not just from my feeling.